Welcome, everyone. We're the Two Fit Travelers.
Hello, guys. Guess where we're coming from you today? Guess where we're coming from?
Just start right over. Hey, guys. Welcome. This is the Two Fit Travelers podcast. Mike.
And Marissa.
And we are coming to you from
New Zealand.
New Zealand. We are, most specifically, we are in the far west coast of the North Island. We are near a town, the largest town nearby is called New Plymouth. So if you look at New Zealand, it's two long islands that kind of look like California but flipped over and then kind of like split in half. So picture California flipped over, and we're in the north half of California, north half of New Zealand, on the far west coast. And we are literally on the coast. We're sitting about 100 feet from the water. You might even hear some waves crashing in the background.
It's pretty peaceful and calming and beautiful.
It's peaceful and calm, but this is how we are trying to get work done because there aren't many places to stop. It's a very rural country. There are only 4.5 million people in the entire country. To give you an idea, that's right around the same total that are in Houston, I believe. And we live in Houston, in the U.S. And so we've heard from a lot of natives and a lot of locals that they just can't believe how big the U.S. is in terms of population.
Yeah, there are definitely more sheep and cows than people, by far.
I would say, without looking into it, without researching it, that is very accurate.
So many sheep.
So we want to jump right into the topic today. It's going to be kind of off the cuff. We've been using different formats for our show, and our ultimate goal is just that we add value to you. Today's format is going to be a little bit off the cuff. We have a couple bullet points that we would like to cover, but really we want today's recording to be as authentic as possible, especially with our scenery and with our background acoustics. But today's topic is about tours, and this is a question that we asked ourselves a lot when we were planning this trip to New Zealand. Should we book a tour or not? Most of the time we opt for not doing a tour because we prefer to do it on our own. But, we also consider the fact that it might be beneficial to do a tour, especially if it's an area that we haven't researched or we didn't take the time to research. And so we're going to hash this out for you a little bit. I'm going to let Marissa get started, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about whether or not you should book a tour on your next trip.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, like Mike said, we're going to be talking about tours today. Tours are great, but they also have some pretty significant downfalls. And so we just kind of want to go forward with both the pluses and minuses of booking a tour, as well as the pluses and minuses of kind of doing everything on your own. So to start with, obviously, tours are great for if you are really interested in the history of a place, or you're really interested in learning as much as you can about a place from an expert. A tour is a great thing for you. Tours, you're going to get stuck with a guide who's literally going to know way more than you want to know sometimes about a place, and they will tell you lots of cool stories, lots of cool details, and definitely enhance your experience if that's something that you are really interested in. Now, if you, on the flip side, if you researched the place a bunch beforehand and you don't really know or need to know a lot of history, and you kind of go there with a lot on your mind, a good other reason to book a tour would be to get those questions that you still have answered. If you research a place to death, obviously, experts are going to know still more than you can even read before you go, and so it's going to be really, really beneficial to book a tour if you want to learn a little bit more than what your scope kind of taught you. Another reason is that you're going to have all of the high points of the place mapped out. Most of the time, these places were such high interest prior to opening a tour that, it's something that just made sense for that place. It's something that's going to show you a high point. And so if you are going somewhere and you're like, hey, this place looks really cool, let's, kind of figure out where the coolest spot is in the entire area, that's going to be pretty difficult, especially if it's a place that's like a mountain or a glacier or something that's really big. Now, if you book a tour, odds are they have a path that's already mapped out. They have equipment that you need to kind of see the high points. and they are able to kind of safely guide you. For example, this morning we took a tour through a cave, and if we would have just tried to spelunk this cave by ourselves, there's no way we could have done it. We definitely needed the tour and the lighted path, and definitely got a lot out of that tour.
Yeah, so there are pluses and minuses whether or not you know anything about where you're going to explore. Now, we're talking about tours. In most cases, this is going to be like a historical landmark or location, maybe some architecture. And so the tour guides are going to be educated on that specific area. Maybe they're going to have some top secret or not information or insider information. But the catch, the pluses and minuses don't necessarily come from your preparation. It comes from what you're looking to get out of the experience, which is a theme behind a lot of our what we talk about is what experience do you want to get. So when we're looking at the time aspect, a lot of people only consider two things. I want to be on my time, and this is where we usually start, is I want to be on my time. I don't want to be stuck with the group, and so I'm going to skip the tour. But oftentimes you can pack more value into that short amount of time that you're on that tour than you can if you're just wandering around aimlessly on your own. Mm-hmm. Now then therein lies the downfall, which is that you are on that tour for a predetermined amount of time. New Zealand has been phenomenal at having tours that are the perfect, appropriate amount of time. Mm-hmm. We were on a whale and dolphin safari, which is a 4.5-hour tour out on the water. And although it got a little bit long at the end, we still felt like it was appropriate because it allowed us to stay out there to see the most wildlife. This cave tour that Marissa was just referring to was only 45 minutes and was the perfect amount of time to, especially if you're claustrophobic, be underground in a cave, but also to see everything, all of the beauty that existed in that cave. It was a glowworm cave. You guys should look it up. We'll tag it in the show notes. But it's really, really spectacular. We couldn't even take pictures of it, what's going on down there because it was too dark. We couldn't really see. And so that's something that you'll have to physically go and be in that cave in order to experience it. The plus side to having your time predetermined. So we're talking about being on a tour with a tour guide. You're going to be stuck with that group until the tour is over. There are pluses and minuses, but the plus side to having your time booked up, let's say it is an 8-hour tour. So one of the tours we're taking in a few days in the South Island is actually a full day tour. We don't even know how long it is, 6 or 8 hours, but it involves so many different pieces of the day that we were already going to do anyway. We just kind of left that planning up to somebody else. And the cost for that experience and how it compares to like our time to plan all of that out, our time to book all of those things, and if we had booked each of the individual pieces separately, probably equalizes out.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Equals out?
Yeah, equals out.
English is not our strong suit.
Yeah. And the good thing, kind of what Mike is kind of hinting at, is if you book a tour, it takes a lot of that legwork out, a lot of that background noise that you have to kind of think, let's look at the timing, let's look at how many get there, let's figure out how I'm going to, piece all of these things together. If a tour is already made for you, you don't have to think about those things. A lot of tours will pick you up and drive you there so you can relax, kind of sit back and enjoy. You don't have to worry about navigating. You don't have to worry about, when do I go here, or am I going to have enough time to drive to the next thing, or it's all determined for you. You just kind of have to sit back and enjoy the ride, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, so I want to make a segue here because a lot of the decisions when it comes to booking experiences come down to cost. And so a lot of these tours, for example, the tour that we went on through the caves was a little bit expensive, but it's the only opportunity, the only way that we could go see that specific cave. Mm-hmm. It was the only option. We could have gone to other caves. It just wasn't as spectacular as what we had heard about and quite frankly what we experienced on this specific tour. But the segue to going on these tours and paying the money to go on the tour is saving money and doing it on your own. Mm-hmm. And there are also pluses and minuses to doing it on your own. For example, some of the individual benefits are that you can kind of tailor your tour to your liking. So let's say that there's a tour package that you want to go on that goes down to this cave. It includes a boat ride, and then you get pictures and all these things. Well, most of us have means to take our own pictures, or we don't necessarily need like the theme park picture where you're scared out of your wits and you get the fake background and all of that. So maybe you don't need the photos, maybe you don't need that. But let's talk about like experiential tours. So let's say there are different parts of the tour. Maybe members of your group might not be interested in whitewater rafting of X, Y, and Z experience, or maybe you want to add something to the tour. Maybe you're taking a tour that goes from point A to point B, and at point B there's something else incredible that you guys want to do, but you'd be tied into a tour having to go back to point A. In those cases, then you can kind of book your own experience along the way. The tip that I want to offer is that we've found several experiences where it is only advertised that there are tours or packages, but when we just look a little bit deeper, when we kind of dive into read between the lines a little bit, we find out that we're not as hogtied as what the marketing or what the website says. So anytime you're trying to book an experience, and if we're talking about experiences that is specifically involve somebody kind of touring you around or explaining like a historical landmark or any number of these things, make sure that you do your homework and kind of hash out the experience. Really exhaust all of your resources, search multiple websites, search from multiple angles. Google is a powerful search engine, but it's only as smart as you allow it to be. So you can search for different long-tail keywords to find different angles to get really great deals, different customized tours and trips, and again, maximize the value for your input.
Yeah, and it definitely, like he was saying, tailoring it to your own experience really helps you control your budget as well. And I think that's a big plus of going it on your own. And so we kind of switched gears and started talking about why individual experiences are better. And, the biggest one for a lot of people is budget. Obviously, if you're booking a tour and they have all of that legwork done for you, it can come at a high cost. And if you figure out that if you wake up in the morning and drive up to that location and there's no one there, it takes you 10 minutes, you're in, you're out, and you have everything that the tour would have given you for $500 less, then you're the real winner. So I mean, that's kind of where you have to figure out what, like Mike was saying, you want to get out of your experience. Definitely. So the other things that you got to kind of think about when you're doing this is what are you getting as far as your education? Do you want to get it from a person? Do you want to discover on your own? Are you a person who wants to, just be in a place, take 3 or 4 pictures and leave? That whole thing kind of is the deciding factor of should you do a tour or should you do it yourself, I think.
Absolutely. We're going to take a short break to transition here, and then we'll wrap up with a couple quick tips and tangible takeaways for you, the listener. All right, guys, and wrapping up, what we'd like to do here is just give you guys 2 quick thought processes, 2 quick tips about whether or not you should book a tour, and I'll kick us off. So, whether you should go with your own individualized plan or a tour or something like a travel agent, or for example, if we put together a fitness experience for you or a fit retreat for you, when should you choose one or the other? So when should you book a tour? Here are a couple reasons that you should book a tour. Number 1 is that you don't want to put any thought into the experience at all. You're willing to pay for somebody else to do that legwork, and you just want to go and just kind of like exist, just be fed with all this information. That would be number 1. Number 2 is when you want an experience in a new area. That would be my second tip. So we chose some of our own trips, some tours, some guided tours, I guess, if you will, and we found merit in both of them, but there were trade-offs. The experiences that we got to do on our own were great because they were quaint. It was just us, and we just kind of soaked in the moment. But the experiences that we were led on this glowworm tour, for example, we learned about all the different structures, and we followed a group. There was some entertainment involved, and it added to the experience. It would have just been a different experience. And so for us, having that trade-off, kind of like the versatility between the two experiences, has made this trip even more incredible, and it kind of allowed us to like interact with the locals and hear some different culture, even some different language and lingo, and allow us to learn more. So those are two reasons why you should and when you should book a tour. What about when you should do it on your own?
So things to consider when you're thinking about doing it yourself, and reasons that would say yes, you should do it yourself, would be, do you want an experience that is tailored to you? Obviously, we all don't need, 3 hours of soaking in the Mona Lisa. You can go there if you want, take a picture and leave, and you don't have to be part of a tour. Now, some people might want that extra time, so you have to figure out your own experience and kind of go forward and say, hey, I want this much time here. I'll probably need this much time here. And if that's what you want to do, picking an individualized experience is going to be way better for you, because you're not going to be stuck, feeling like you have to run away from a tour. And then the other thing would be cost. Now, you're going to save a lot of money most of the time if you do it yourself. Obviously, if you're going into an experience and you're, having someone else plan for you, and you're sitting on a bus and it's nice and it's coach and you're just riding along, you don't have to do any of the work. Obviously, it's going to cost a lot more than if you're, renting a small little car, or taking a group tour or something like that, or taking something that's more individualized. It's going to be a lot more to do the group versus just you picking and going on your own. And I think cost is a big reason that I would pick an individual tour.
Yeah, so we could leave it with those highlights, and that's just from our experience. I'm sure there are other people that have traveled quite a bit that have other opinions about how to go about travels, but we thought about these experiences when we booked them, not just from our perspective, but from other people's perspectives too. Like, how would most people treat this decision? And so when it came to booking a tour, we felt like, if we want to learn more about something, we're probably going to opt for somebody that it's their job to know and learn about this experience. And there are some times where we were kind of maxed out on our brain power planning the trip, and we're like, hey, you know what, we're just going to leave it to an expert to take care of that. But there are other parts of the trip that we kind of thought, you know what, it's just a beach. Mm-hmm. So we don't need someone to take us around the area. Maybe we just want to relax at the beach. Mm-hmm. Maybe we didn't want all of the different pieces of a certain package deal. So we just we picked and chose and did it on our own. So those are just some of our ideas and some of our opinions. We really, really hope that they add value to you. Mm-hmm. And as always, we just want to say thank you so much for taking a minute of your time to be with us. It means a lot to us. And if you took anything away from this show, please hop onto iTunes or onto your platform of choice and leave us a good review. That's going to help us be able to add more value in the future and really help escalate our growth as a platform, as a travel fit couple.
Yeah, and like us on Instagram, we are at 2Fit Travelers, and check out our blog. I mean, we're going to be writing some pretty cool stuff and reviews of some of the tours we did in New Zealand here coming up, and so we put up a new blog every Monday, 8 a.m., and it is definitely worth giving it a read, in our opinion, which we might be biased, but that's okay.
That's right.
Thanks, guys. We look forward to catching up with you in the next episode, which is going to be nutrition while traveling. How to eat everything you want and still stay on your health goals.
That's right. Make sure to add some cheesecake in there.
We love cheesecake.
Bye, guys.
Bye.